we've taught our children, we were taught as infants to say hello and goodbye.
Yeah, I realize not every person who dies is celebrity, but they're special.
Yeah.
They mean something to somebody, and they just want to share their story. And we help them do that. That's kind of a really cool thing.
The most special things you can have in a funeral, the things that you'll always remember for families, are the things that actually don't cost any money.
Death has been something that people have tried to isolate, and we're saying it needs to be integrated, to integrate it into life, so that the person, it's not reincarnation or something like that. It's just recognizing and honoring and facilitating the natural circle of life.
Undertaking the podcast is brought to you in part by the Indiana Donor Network. As funeral professionals, we offer comfort and support to our communities during times of grief by going above and beyond to honor the legacies of their fallen loved ones. Every year, thousands of people leave behind the ultimate legacy through their gifts of organ, tissue, and eye donation. The loved ones of these donors often describe donation as a bright light during dark times. We as funeral directors can further support families and honor the life-saving legacies of their loved ones by partnering with our local organ procurement organizations. For example, our OPO, Indiana Donor Network, has a funeral home partnership program. It's easy to sign up and comes with amazing benefits, including donate life supplies to display during a donor's funeral service. If you're a funeral director in Indiana, check out Indiana Donor Network's Funeral Home Partnership Program at indianadonornetwork.org/funeral directors. If you're outside of Indiana, we highly encourage our listeners to connect with your OPO to find new ways to celebrate the gift of life with those we serve. To contact the Indiana Donor Network, visit indianadonornetwork.org. Hello, friends. Here we are. Oh, scoot up the chair here. Welcome to Undertaking the podcast. This is kind of a new segment, honestly, to the podcast. This is we try to incorporate different walks of life. I would like to say, different walks in funeral service, different people that are doing different things. We are not against that here. So this podcast is kind of an introduction to a new segment that we're going to be putting together, and something new that honestly I'm anxious to listen to, because stories are different everywhere, and the stories that we'll bring up here are going to be interesting. So let's start off. Oh, sorry guys. I am currently smoking a meatloaf in my smoker, which I am not by any means. I am not good when it comes to that type of stuff. So I am still practicing. There's other people in my life that I've had to learn from when it comes to this. So I'm still very much learning, but I've got one of those, it's one of those thermometer deals where I got one of the probes in the ground beef, the meat, and then one of the probes that is actually in that's sitting outside on the rack in the smoker, to get an accurate reading. So I'm just not good at it. It's not worked out well. I did an Easter one time, and it was an absolute debacle. Embarrassed my wife. My family was sideways. Nobody ate. I think it was pork butt. Pork butt is, I'm pretty sure, what I was doing. It was horrible. So yeah, I like to, I cook, guys. I do, and I enjoy it. Old Falcone, he's a cook, man, no question about it. But I'm still functioning. If, let's just say this, and my wife knows I am resourceful, very much so, and I'm a prepper in a lot of ways too. The meat will be edible. All right, you'll be able to eat it. I can't always guarantee that it's going to be the best of the best, but if let's just, God forbid, my wife is so into the movies that talk about Earth just kind of imploding, volcanoes. What was that? Dante's Peak. That's an oldie. That's a late 90s movie. But and then she had another one, Day After Tomorrow. That's got Jake Gyllenhaal in it. She loves those movies for some reason. And we've watched those for years, and I guess I've just gotten into the mindset of doing things prepping and whatnot. But anyway, she knows this, that I am resourceful in those situations. So no matter what, the food will be edible. Moving on. I'm not sure how I got. Oh yeah, that's right. I'm smoking meat. That's how I got there. Anyway, sponsor. Oh, my wife's calling me. I'm not going to answer right now. She's going to be upset. She's going to come to the door here and be sideways because I didn't answer, but I've got to get through this. So, sponsor number one, Gather, friends. Gather's website, gather.app. You'll find this in the show notes as well, that you can access to. It's the easiest way to manage your crematory, your mortuary, your business, your funeral home. They do case management, QR code, body tracking. That's something within a high volume firm that you might want to think about. And quite honestly, me moving from where I was, kind of a smaller volume, to a much higher volume, has been interesting. And, we've had to resort to a different type of tracking because the influx when it comes to that. So QR code, man, I'm a fan of the QR code just in general. Ask Pierce. So they'll tell you about that. The QR code is awesome. So funeral live streaming, funeral home websites, they do all of that. Gather.app. We've got a podcast with Zach Chatterton on there that you can listen to him and the story and how Gather kind of came about. Very neat. So Love Always Project, same deal. Dean Lambert, episode 346. He talks about this. They're proud sponsors of the podcast, but he talks about the Love Always Project and their mission. The Love Always Project is a movement created to promote discussion about end-of-life issues, provide expert information, and encourage people to pre-plan and pay for their funeral as the ultimate act of love for those they leave behind. So Dean Lambert over there, he talks about how it came about. He's got a story, very much a story. Episode 346, he talks about that. And then how this is and how the Love Always Project has come to existence. So it's a great episode. Like I said, the story is so cool, and the story is so important. We're getting to a point in life, I think, where we're not recording like we should be, and just in general. I think you've got, as a funeral director, I think storylines disappear in so many ways. And this goes back to, I think Jason Duvall, Mountain Mornings, that I'm getting ready to introduce, but it goes back to that as well. And I think, the Vietnam veterans, the World War II veterans, guys, we are burying them all the time. The Vietnam Wall that we did, the Wall That Heals that we did here locally, there's so many stories I had a chance to listen to and be a part of. And it's just crazy to me to think that once these people leave, once these people move on, move into the next universe or whatever you believe, whatever you do, whatever, that story disappears. That's tough for me. So that's something that I'm big into, is the idea of telling the story, no matter what it is. It can be about anything, but tell the story, guys. And we've got some good stories coming up as well. So final sponsor of the podcast, Indiana Donor Network. Friends, we've got a tab on our website at undertakingthepodcast.com that you can hit that directs you straight to indianadonornetwork.org, where you can sign up to be a donor. The Indiana Donor Network has been proud supporters of the podcast for a long time, and quite honestly, we support them. We're big race fans within my family, and they are as well. And they people always talk about what they're doing and where they're at, and how you see them at event, and they're just PRing all the time. Yeah, that they're supposed to be. That's the whole point. That's why they do this, is so they can get the message out as to the donation, the gift of life. Within my family, it's been something that was very important, especially when we needed it. You don't think about it until you need it, but it's something for me that hits dear, hits home in a lot of ways. So IndianaDonorNetwork.org. Mackenzie Huey is our funeral director liaison over there, and she does a unbelievable job when it comes to communication, touch and base. And quite honestly, we've got a funeral director advisory committee that they put together too, that we've been able to do some things with and make some good change. And if you're not communicating with your OPO, your organ procurement organization, then you're missing out, because that's on you. Let's control our own destiny, friends. We're going to be working with them, so let's talk to them. That's what we've done here in Indiana with the Indiana Donor Network, friends. So indianadonornetwork.org. As always, friends, we appreciate them. So let's talk about the episode that we're getting ready to walk into here. So this is Jason Duvall. This is Jason Duvall with his in so many words, his segment called Mountain Mornings. Jason Duvall is from Duvall Moore Mortuary. And let me look that up real quick. Wow, golly, I can't believe I don't have... Well, it comes right up anyway because I've been on his website before. But Duvall Moore Funeral Home and Cremation Service is in Olive Hill, Kentucky, and that's in the Appalachian area. He says Appalachian. He knows this better than me because he's from there, so I may be mispronouncing it. But it is, kind of mountain funeral directing. And it's interesting, they do some things differently in Washington State when we went and visited Henry Johnston within some of the cemeteries and whatnot. There's stories up there. There's stories where, Jason Duvall is when it comes to Olive Hill, Kentucky, that area. I believe that's a West Virginia area, very hilly area, very, high country in a lot of ways. But he has the opportunity to kind of tell us what it is he's going to be doing, getting stories from that area. That area of the United States does things a little bit differently, and quite honestly, that's okay. I want to hear it. I want to hear what it is they're doing. He talks about a few different things. Currently, I'm editing a story he's telling about a mining accident that took place, and I believe that involved some of his family. So he had to get some permissions to do that episode. But Mountain Mornings with Jason Duvall, I'm excited about this. I'm excited to have him do this because this, to me, quite honestly, is fun because I get to hear somebody else's story, not always mine, and not always mine that I'm talking about. That's the thing about it. Sometimes I feel like on the podcast with Brian and I, it's just me and him talking about us. I want to incorporate a lot of different things here. And I want to incorporate, I think, too, the idea of a funeral service elsewhere. What does that look like? So I've got some other ideas that I'm working through the pipe here right now. Friends, rate, review, subscribe, tell a friend. There will be a closer. As always, rock and roll.
Hello. Is this thing on? Is it wired up, ready to go? Check 1, 2. Are we live? Hello, friends and neighbors. Brother Jason coming to you from down in the hills of old Kentucky, fresh from the West Coast. Spent a few days out there. The family and I flew out to Carmel, California, and got to spend some time with family that we don't necessarily get to see all the time. And we all come together and celebrated the wedding of my brother-in-law and his fiancée, and just a beautiful setting out there on the Pacific coast in Carmel, California. And so first and foremost, I'd like to thank my staff back here at the funeral home who held the fort down while we were gone out having a good time on the West Coast. They served several families while we were gone and kept everything on an even keel. And I'm forever grateful for that, because without them supporting us, there'd be no way that we could leave, go do anything. And I always say, no matter how much I like undertaking and taking care of families, it's always good to get away, refresh, recharge, and peace of mind, clear the air, so to speak. But like Grandma always said, there's no place like home. So we're glad to have had the time off, but more than glad to be right back down here, back home in the hills of Kentucky, back to work. serving families and taking care of business at hand. I wanted to kind of jump on here just real quick and kind of share some news with you all. As many of you all know, from time to time, I've been doing a few episodes here and there. Done a couple of interviews with Mr. Brian and Mr. Ryan. Guest hosted on a little bit of stuff, but I'd say we've been collaborating for the last year between Ryan, Brian, and myself. And so after much thought and prayer and some encouragement from those guys, proud to bring to you another segment to Undertaking the podcast. And this segment we're going to call Mountain Morning, of course, hosted by me, and hopefully give you an insight to life and death and everything in between down here in the Appalachian Mountains. I'm more than proud to say that I'm a native son of Appalachia. I know there's a lot of nice places all around the world and good people everywhere, but I think some of the finest people in the world are found right here in these mountains. And particularly the way we do things, the way we undertake, the way we serve families. We're a proud people, strong-willed people. Faith is predominant in our family, and that kind of carries over into how we serve, what families expect of us. We have a lot of traditions that may seem peculiar to people outside the region, but here it's just everyday business, and I wouldn't have it any other way. So I hope that you will join as we go through this. As I'm going to start interviewing funeral directors down here in the mountains, some of my colleagues and counterparts. Look at some of our traditions and just a little bit of everything. We have a lot of stuff that make up our region, a lot of history. It goes back several hundred years. Appalachia blended in from a lot of immigrants that come from Europe. Come into the colonies, and the colonies kind of stubbed their nose at them, and so being the strong-willed people there were, they picked up their wares and moved west, and they found the mountains and settled there, and so to be ancestor, heir of that tradition, that hierarchy, it just makes me proud, and proud to be able to tell our story of the Appalachian Mountains, the region, our people. And also, most people down here kind of plain spoken. We look at things a little different, a little common sense. Look forward to weighing into on current conditions and things going on inside the funeral business from all across the country and offer some insight on that. But I hope you will join in the episodes, give us some feedback. And hope you like what this segment is. I know we got several things going on. Robert Falcone with his segment, Observations from a Hearse. I think it's a really good thing what Robert's doing. Of course, he's had that column for a good bit, and always good to read and share Robert's point of view with everything, and listen to his advice and mentorship. With his years in funeral service, and always enjoy talking with people from all over the country and seeing their input and what have you. But look forward to getting started and start putting some content out. And like I said, hope you all enjoy it. Look forward to hearing your feedback, comments, and what have you, and see where this journey takes us. All right, guys. Well, you all have a good evening, morning, afternoon, whatever the case may be, and we look forward to being with you in the near future.
All right, friends. I hope you enjoyed episode 538, Mountain Mornings, with Jason Duvall. He talks about kind of some of the things he's going to be referencing and touching base to as to his segment, of the podcast. So a different way of doing things. And you can find him over there at Duvall and Moore Funeral Home. Let's see if we can get the website here. It looks like DuvallandMoore.com. And you can see well, read and see a little bit about him and his family business. So Jason Duvall, there it is again. Tell you what, we'll see. We'll see what happens there. We're almost to temperature, so I'm excited about that. We'll see. I will let you know, see if the meatloaf turns out the way I want it to. But Gather is the podcast sponsor, one of them, gather.app. Make it easy to manage your crematory, your mortuary, your business, your funeral home. So they've got case management, QR codes for body tracking, which I've talked about in the past, is big. Pierce, you know that as well when it comes to QR codes and Undertaking the podcast. Appreciate you guys over there. Pierce Chemical. Funeral live streaming, and they also do funeral home websites, guys. So gather.app, Zach Chatterton over there, has a great story when it comes to Gather and how it came about. So the Love Always Project, Dean Lambert, episode 346. I keep going back to that, and I keep saying that, guys. He talks about it. I don't have the full story for you. All I know is they are a proud supporter of Undertaking the podcast, and we support them, especially on episode 346. Dean Lambert talks about the Love Always Project, and like I said, the story's deeper with Dean. I'm not going to tell it. He can. It's his story. But it talks about the development of the Love Always Project. You can see everything in the show notes, or you can visit them at lovealwaysproject.org. Friends, I don't know how else to tell you, but the donor network is going to always be a part of this, as long as they want to be. We appreciate them. We deal with them, I feel like, weekly in a lot of ways. And I say deal, we have communication with them, I feel like, weekly. Deal was not the correct word, but, we talk to them, I would say within our firm, I would say weekly. So it's one of those, and I know I've just harped on that a lot, but it's one of those things where we have to have communication. IndianaDonorNetwork.org is the website. Indiana Donor Network has been a proud sponsor of the podcast since the inception, since the beginning of all this. And we've supported them. We believe in their mission, and I think they believe in ours, and ours is telling the story, and they want the story to be told. So IndianaDonorNetwork.org, Mackenzie Huey over there, she is the funeral director liaison that can help you out, and quite honestly, she's real receptive, so reach out to her. I think if you're listening to this from out of state too, and you're wanting to get something started when it comes to a liaison, give her a call. Maybe she can help put you guys in touch with somebody, or yada, yada, give some pointers. So, well, friends, what I will say is rate, review, subscribe, tell a friend. Undertakingthepodcast.com is that website. info@undertakingthepodcast.com is the email. Check us out on YouTube, friends. We're going to be doing some crazy things coming up. So watch us there. We're telling stories over there too. Rock and roll.